5 puzzles, and Tom is going to explain the end game to you. Okay, we'll start with the big head over there, the sexiest president alive or dead. You had 6 presidents who were introduced to you. Each one was always introduced by his number. Bill Clinton, number 42. George Bush, number 43. Number 43. Donald Trump, 45. George Washington, 1. Oh, yeah, thank you. Donald Trump, by the way, was played by Rick Hirsch, who is the managing editor of the Miami Herald. And he has found a new career here today. George Washington, president number 1. Andrew Jackson, number 7. Thank you to the person who corrected us when we said 17. A person came up and said, I'm a history buff. Are you doing that wrong on purpose? I said, no, and Ronald Reagan, number 40. So the narrator, who was a guy named Gabe from the New World School, had the presidents line up in the order I just gave you their numbers. Was president, made a big deal about you had to text ahead, and when he said text ahead, Donald Trump would say, and we mean that bigly, so he kept talking about texting ahead. Right behind these people was a gigantic head. So you had to text that, take a picture of that head and text it to the number that the presidents were giving you in order there, which was 424345170. If you did that, if you texted a picture of that head, what did you get back? You got the same head back, but wearing Abe Lincoln's hat and Abe Lincoln's beard, and that's what Blake did. I don't know how he did that, but he did it. If you didn't,
it was magic.
Yeah, somehow. Anyway, so you knew the answer was Abe Lincoln, who was president number 16 was the answer, and that clue was, why do you eat dog food? How many people got that one right? Almost everybody. The yoga class. Sujal Patel, who was our yoga guy, he was terrific, we thought. And he also was worn out at the end of the day. He said there's something really isn't right to do the same yoga pose over and over again on the same side, which is what we made him do. So he's probably never going to do yoga again for the rest of his life. He's probably already drinking beer and gaining weight right now. But he gave us a good day out of his life. Anyway, we gave you 5 poses. Tom will show you. He gave you 5 poses out of 10 shown on this flyer, and he made a big point of you had to focus on his form and follow his instructions to the letter. And basically he was forming letters with his body. And if you had any trouble seeing that, you could follow the photographs that he provided of himself doing those poses. He formed 5 letters. What were they? NLMVP. NLMVP. And if you Googled NLMVP, or maybe some of you already knew, the National League Most Valuable Player last year was John Carlos Stanton, who used to be back with the Marlins back before we decided to improve our team by getting rid of everybody who was any good at the sport of baseball. As part of our rebuilding program here, I will be starting at center field for the Marlins this year. Anyway, NLMVP, so all you had to do was Google it, and you could, even though he has now gone to the Yankees, he kept the same number. What's his number? 27. 27. Who didn't get? No. How many people got 27? All right. And that clue was sink into a big goopy pit of goo. Moving right along.
You can tell how highbrow the hunt is by the nature of these clues.
The grid pattern over here. Okay. You got a handout with a bunch of white squares. Here, Tom will show it to you.
His beautiful assistant.
There you go. That one, right there. You were given that handout with a bunch of weird-looking blacked-out marks and a pencil in the upper right-hand corner, and it said, look familiar. If not, look around, then fill in spaces in these places. If you looked around, you should see the same pencil. It was over there on the Frost Museum of Science, next to a grid pattern of windows. The windows are blacked out in different places from the grid pattern that you were handed. The key was to fill in your grid pattern with the windows where they were blacked out. And if you did that, it formed a number. What was that number?
359.
359 is the number it formed. How many people got that one? All right. You people are very good. And that clue corresponded with show every bit of your gown. Okay, the next one. Tom, here's the... The Doggy Art Show. You were given over there there was a display of line art drawn by a guy named Eric, what's his name? Eric Shansby. And he drew a bunch of dogs, kind of whimsical line drawings of dogs over there. And you were also given this price sheet, which showed the same drawings, each with a number associated with it. All of those numbers were potentially correct answers to the puzzle. And we said on the instructions to you, one of these works is different from the others. Its fundamental structure is drawn from real life. This defining difference can be seen by any viewer who finds the right perspective from which to compare the work to the artist's inspiration. So we said it was drawn from real life. We noted that it was sponsored by Compass Realty. And we said, speaking of Compass, if you look about 140 yards to the northwest, you might begin to find the perspective you need. We were telling you to go look at this sculpture here. If you looked at that sculpture from the right angle, one of these pictures lined up exactly with the lines in that sculpture. Which one was it?
1200.
1200, the $1,200 doggy sculpture. How many people got that one? Okay. Clue 1200, the clue was, I love going as Tubby. And finally, the Food Identity Conference, which was put on by the New World School students. No two doing the same, no two performances the same. Basically, the speaker said, here we have a bunch of foods who need to find their identity. They need to find a common feature, and the kids would all run around looking to find somebody. Then finally, 3 of the foods would always come together, found something in common. They were a bagel, a donut, and some Swiss cheese. They were the 3 foods that had a common feature. What is that feature? Holes. So they are?
Whole foods.
They're whole foods. And the narrator said, but the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. Everybody, I assume, looked into the Hunt, the Hunt magazine and saw there was a whole food ad that had donuts, bagels, and Swiss cheese. If you added those 3 numbers, though, it didn't add up to a potential solution. You had to add one more whole food. What was it? Cheerios. There was one more whole food in the ad. If you added that, what did you get?
$13.98.
I didn't hear you. $13.98 is what you should have got. Wait, some people didn't get that. What? Just for the record, this was Tom's puzzle. But I thought it was a good puzzle. You didn't get that.
Is this just because you all couldn't add? Is that the
How
problem?
many people did get it? All right, I don't know what the dopes are complaining about. Okay, so that's it, and that one gave you Too Bad Bill. Okay, so now you had 5 clues, none of which at that point should have made any sense to you at all. At least our hope was that they wouldn't. And at 3 p.m., Tom gave you the final clue, and I will turn the microphone over to Tom. Oh, you already have a microphone.
And as I've said many times, the final clue was, we will now state the final answer, the final clue, use only the capital letters. And we emphasize state for a reason, because we were talking about the state capital of Florida, which is? So if you used only the letters that appeared in Tallahassee from the 5 clues, and you went through the 5 clues using only T, A, L, H, S, and E, what you got was heat, stat sheet, least tall. Now,
oh wait, how many people got that far? Okay, heat, stat sheet, least tall.
okay. So there was a 6'1" player in the magazine. There was a heat promo,
A heat stat sheet.
with the roster, and the least tall player on that roster was 6'1", number 14,
Derek Walton Jr.
Derek Walton Jr. And if you looked on the map, you saw a bunch of basketball players standing around.
No, not basketball players.
Oh, basketball fans, excuse me. Definitively not actual Heat players. But as basketball fans wearing the numbers of their favorite players, and one of them had number 14 on it. And if you looked on the map, it was situated right across that canal there, by the Heat Arena on the sidewalk.
This is why all those people started running that way after a little while.
So, if you ran there, there were 4 people giving out, standing up on crates, giving out an additional hint, an additional clue sheet. But alas, that clue was nothing but a random collection of letters. So what you had to notice was that the people handing them out had 4 t-shirts on. And those t-shirts had the names of states on them. And that was Florida, Alabama, Arizona, and Pennsylvania. And if you added the state capitals of those 3 states to Florida's state capital and used all the letters in those 4 states, what you got was text Sphinx to Rumi Bayman. Now, who's Rumi Bayman, you may ask? It's nobody, but if you use the telephone keyboard to spell out Rumi Bayman and you texted Sphinx to that, you won. And we actually had...
Well, you can't be cheering because you didn't win, did you?
Okay, so there were actually quite a few people who texted that who didn't make the first 3. So I want to congratulate those people, and good job, and you lose.
So we would